Grandma's royal blessings. Princess Leonor cherished with ancestral gifts from Christian's family. The palace halls. Expected silence. But instead, laughter, gasps, and tears. And what seemed like a simple dinner became a moment of history. It was a gathering unlike any other. Princess Leonor of Spain, newly connected to Prince Christian of Denmark, welcomed into the intimate world of his family. But what no one expected was the gesture that transformed an evening into something unforgettable. Christian's grandmother, Queen Margrethe, stepped forward with gifts, ancestral treasures passed through generations of Danish royals, bestowed upon Leonor in a moment both symbolic and deeply personal. The news of these gifts quickly spread. Not just jewelry or artifacts. They were emblems of history. Symbols of continuity. Pieces of Denmark's royal soul, placed into the hands of Spain's future queen. It was more than generosity, it was acceptance. The ceremony unfolded quietly inside Amalienborg Palace. There was no fanfare, no press. Only family gathered. Leonor entered the room with a grace far beyond her 18 years. Christian walked by her side, protective yet proud. At the center sat Queen Margrethe, regal but warm, her eyes sparkling with the wisdom of decades. For the Danish queen, this was more than tradition. It was legacy. She had seen her own children marry, her grandchildren grow, her kingdom evolve. But now, she was preparing to bless a union that reached beyond Denmark, toward Spain. The first gift was revealed, a brooch of extraordinary age, once worn by Queen Ingrid, Margrethe's own mother. Its design, delicate yet strong, symbolized resilience, a message to Leonor that queens are not made by crowns alone, but by endurance through storms. Leonor's eyes shimmered as she received it. For a moment, she was not just a princess accepting a jewel. She was a young woman realizing the enormity of what lay ahead. But the gifts did not end there. A silk shawl, embroidered by Danish hands a century ago, was draped over Leonor's shoulders. Not simply fabric, but a mantle of tradition. Then came a ring, set with a sapphire stone once belonging to a distant ancestor. These items were not just treasures, they were whispers of history, linking Leonor to a family she was joining, and to a dynasty that had endured for centuries. Why does this matter so deeply? Because in royal life, gifts are never only gifts. They are messages. The brooch said, "You are resilient." The shawl said, "You are embraced." The ring said, "You are bound to us." In those moments, Queen Margrethe was not simply offering jewelry. She was offering belonging. And Leonor, she responded not with practiced protocol, but with emotion. She bowed her head, tears glistening, then looked directly into Margrethe's eyes. Witnesses described it as a moment of two queens across generations meeting in unspoken understanding. Margrethe, who has carried Denmark through half a century, and Leonor, who will one day carry Spain into its future. The significance of these gifts reverberates far beyond the palace walls. In Spain, news of Leonor's acceptance into Christian's family touched hearts deeply. For Spaniards, who see her as the embodiment of the nation's future, the gesture was interpreted as a sign of security, that their princess is cherished abroad as much as at home. In Denmark, it reassured the people that their prince had chosen not just wisely, but meaningfully. But what of the politics? Analysts were quick to interpret the symbolism. This was not just about love. It was about alliances. Two royal houses, each strong, each rooted in history, subtly weaving themselves together. In a Europe where monarchies continue to evolve, this union suggested stability. Continuity. A reminder that the ties of blood and tradition still matter in an ever-changing world. And yet, questions remain. Was this gesture spontaneous from Margrethe's heart, or carefully staged as part of a larger royal plan? Some insiders say Margrethe, nearing the twilight of her reign, wished to personally bless Leonor before her grandson takes on greater duties. Others argue it was symbolic preparation for the day when Leonor and Christian may not only be spouses but powerful figures on the European stage. The emotional reactions cannot be overstated. Queen Letizia of Spain, watching her daughter receive treasures from another family, was reportedly moved to tears. King Felipe, dignified but solemn, seemed to understand the depth of what was happening. His daughter was no longer just Spain's. She was now woven into Denmark's story too. But for Leonor, what did it mean? For a young woman raised under constant expectation, every step measured, this was perhaps the first moment where she was not just heir to a throne, but cherished as a granddaughter by someone beyond her own family. Those gifts told her, you were not alone. You were part of something greater. The evening did not end with ceremony, but with warmth. After the gifts, the family gathered for dinner. Conversation flowed easily. Christian and Leonor laughed quietly, sharing glances that spoke volumes. Margrethe's eyes softened each time she looked their way. The ancestral treasures were more than objects on a table, they had become bridges, linking past and future, Denmark and Spain, grandmother and granddaughter. Outside the palace, the world speculated. What did this mean for the future? Would Leonor wear the brooch at her wedding? Would the shawl appear during her coronation? Would the ring be passed to her own daughter one day? Each item, each choice, would now carry stories far beyond material value. The truth is clear, this was not just a gift exchange. It was history unfolding, a queen passing blessings to a queen-to-be, a grandmother entrusting her legacy to the woman who will one day lead beside her grandson. A gesture of unity that spoke louder than speeches or treaties ever could. And as the night ended, as Leonor held those treasures close, one thing was undeniable. She had not only been welcomed into Christian's family, she had been embraced by history itself. This moment will not be forgotten. Not by Spain, not by Denmark, not by the world, because ancestral gifts are more than objects, they are promises. Promises of love, of unity, of endurance. And with Margrethe's blessing, Leonor steps not just into a marriage, but into a legacy. The palace halls will remember the laughter, the tears, the silence that followed each gift. And generations from now, when those treasures are passed again, the story will be told, the night Princess Leonor was cherished by Christian's grandmother. A night when the past met the future, and two royal families became one.